there will be no notice of motion or motions without notice. Honorable delegates, before we proceed to questions, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the ministers from the economic cluster, specifically the Deputy Minister for Public Enterprises and the Minister for Public Works and Infrastructure. Further, I would like to make the following remarks: that the time for reply by the Minister to a question is 5 minutes. That only 4 supplementary questions are allowed per question. That the member who has asked the initial question would be the first to be afforded an opportunity to ask a supplementary question. That the time for asking supplementary question is 2 minutes. That the time for reply to a supplementary question is 4 minutes. And that the supplementary question must emanate from the initial question. Having done that, having provided that clarification, we now move on to question.
Chairperson.
The first question is question number 24.
Chairperson. Chairperson, I rise on behalf. Chairperson.
Yes. Yes. Let's hear you.
I rise on a point of order, Chair.
Yes.
Yes, Chair.
What's the point of order?
Okay, Chair. Anda wakutiva ku before ya emahlweni na ntshamo wa siku ra namuntlha. Loko mo tsundzuka ka ntshamo lowu nga hundza a hi ri na challenge ya ti-translators. So a ni lava ku tiva before ya mahlweni ku namuntlha challenge ya ti-translators yi kote ku ololoxiwa na. Ku ri ku nga vi mina na n'wina hi kota ku translate la timembara ta hina na khensa, Chair.
Yeah. There's the question. But my sense I got from the last meeting was that this issue is now sorted out. I don't expect it to rise. If it does, we will really have to look at it, even with much more determination and put more effort than we've done before. I'm sure the Secretary to the NCOP, Advocate Pindela, would like to give us an assurance that the matter is being is okay, is being attended to. Advocate.
Indeed, Chair, we do have interpreters in the virtual house. We hope that you will not have the problems that we had previously. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's move on then on to the question. So the first question is on restructuring of ESCOM. This question is from Honorable K.M. Muimang and is directed to the Minister of Public Enterprises. Minister.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'm standing for the Minister of Public Enterprises, who has not been able to join this session. The response to the question from Honorable Muimang is as follows. Following the President's February 2019 announcement that ESCOM will be unbundled into 3 separate companies under ESCOM Holdings, starting with the creation of a transmission company, the Department of Public Enterprises published a special paper on ESCOM in October of 2019. This paper was titled The Roadmap for ESCOM in a Reformed Electricity Supply Industry. This paper was outlining the roadmap and the blueprint to restructuring and the separation process. The restructuring will assist in augmenting Eskom's business model and put in a path to long-term stability. This is a first step that will address the fit for purpose question that Eskom and the industry has been struggling with. It will also provide a better sight into Eskom's operations. It will also provide a fair and equitable, transparent access to the transmission grid by the private power producers. The objective of the reform process is to functionally separate and ultimately form 3 legal wholly owned subsidiaries of Eskom Holdings as outlined in the Eskom roadmap. Eskom is undergoing a functional unbundling phase that will be completed by the 31st of March 2021, and the creation of the transmission company by the 31st of December 2021. The legal unbundling of generation and distribution will be completed by December of 2022. Herewith, I also attach progress in respect to the functional separation. Eskom has finalized the divisionalization and launched 3 divisions with boards and managing directors. It has also established separate P&Ls in place through standard operating procedures, including cost as well as profit centers. A total of 9,400 employees have been relinked, with 6,770 employees moved from corporate functions to divisions. On the separation and as well as readiness, PFMA applications for the establishment of the transmission company have been approved by both ministers of finance and public enterprises, and the initial report on due diligence outcomes for the corporate structure and the transmission of the transmission company. There's also been established an intergovernmental steering committee on Eskom reform, which comprises public enterprises, mineral resources and energy, national treasury, as well as Eskom. This was established to address the risks. Lastly, the turnaround strategy for the year 2020 to 2022 was developed to address the challenges facing Eskom. The questions of financial, structural, and operational sustainability underpinning this strategy are 5 key pillars, namely operations recovery, improving the income statement, improving the balance sheet, as well as implementing of the roadmap, as well as securing a culture for both the people as well as the organization. The post-COVID-19 operating environment, exacerbated by the deterioration in key macroeconomic indicators, including further downgrades by credit rating agencies, have had an impact on key components of Eskom's turnaround plan. However, Eskom and government continuously evaluate the impact of these factors emanating from the operating environment to ensure that it makes the necessary adjustments in its turnaround plan. That concludes my response to the question initially, Chair. Thank you.
The following question, sorry, that concludes the response from Deputy Minister. The following supplementary question from Honorable Muima. Honorable Muima.
Thank you, Honorable National Chairperson. Thank you, Deputy Minister, for your comprehensive response to the question that I posed. Indeed, it put us in a much more better position to understand progress thus far with regard to the restructuring of Eskom. Now, Honorable Deputy Minister, the country has been experiencing sporadic instances of load shedding of recent, and it looks like it is an ongoing process, considering the fact that the country is trying to rebuild our economy from the devastating nature of the COVID-19 pandemic. Can the Deputy Minister explain to the public, to the South African community, what is the main cause of this persistent crisis of load shedding, and what is the department doing to arrest the situation? Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. It's almost like it's a coincidence in that today, during the course of the day, the ESCOM, through its Group Chief Executive, was addressing the nation on the very same matter of the persistent load shedding. I will just highlight a few things. I'm sure the detail could be gleaned from that exposition so made during the course of today. This current stage 2 load shedding caused by breakdowns at various power stations that have occurred in recent times. If I may, there are two elements of the strategy going forward by ESCOM. Firstly, is that of heightened maintenance on some of the operating units, which has not been done over a period of time. The strategy is, in order to regain generation capacity, some of the plants that are due for maintenance should be taken out. There is a conscious effort that is planned, plants that are taken out, but we continue to experience other breakdowns in the other plants, which tend to create a situation where in a day we have in excess of 11,500 megawatts of power that is missed out of the rest of the generation fleet, which then makes this load shedding unavoidable in a sense. Going forward, we're working to ensure that improvements and efficiencies are achieved in terms of the operational capacity, both at Medupi and Kusile, attending to the defects that makes for us not to achieve maximal output from there is a matter that's receiving a priority. We're also working with DMRE, acquiring additional capacity from independent power producers in order to close the capacity gap that is there. These are the measures and support that the government, the department is giving to ESCOM to mitigate the current environment. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. We'll now move on to Honorable Nana.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. Hey, Deputy Minister, I mean, only yesterday, CEO EBCT load shedding will be with us for the next 5 years at least. But what is even more worrisome, DM, is some assertions by the Group CEO to say he is worried about Kusile and Medupi because they are behaving like old power plants, whilst in fact they are new power plants, and we pinned our hopes on those two plants in particular. Now it's worrisome that he thinks they are behaving like old power plants. But having said that, DM, I hope you'll agree with me that part of the President's announcement in turning ESCOM to a profitable business will be the return of corporate governance to the utility and root out the remains of state capture era. Now, to what extent are rogue elements and known and very known enablers of state capture at ESCOM are disrupting efforts by the new management led by the Group CEO, Mr. Andre Reiter, in his efforts to bring stability to the utility. Thank you, Chairman.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thanks to Honorable Nana. The Group Chief Executive would have said as well that ESCOM is working hard to ensure that these units, both Kusile and Mudupi, those design defects that have been established are being acted upon to ensure that these units indeed do not behave like the old units that have had a much longer life. Yes, in terms of ensuring good governance, the board is acting very swiftly and firmly to ensure that within the management echelons at ESCOM and throughout the operational environment, integrity is returned, and that where malfeasance is established, very decisive measures are taken to bring those who are in breach to book. It is something that we should expect that with the passage of time, it shall improve in terms of whenever there are such discoveries tend to get to be acted upon. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. Let's move on to Honorable Matebula.
Nankensa Chair. Shandla Minister, will the restructuring plan at ESCOM also include correcting the tendency of appointing white males only in the key strategic position at ESCOM, and the review of all power purchase agreements with independent renewable power producers that only benefit South African races, financial and energy sector? Nakensa Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister.
I hope I follow the honorable member very well. In respect of appointments, indeed, as is consistent with government policy, appointments should be on the strength of merit, and indeed, due regard must be taken of the transformation effort that the country is undertaking. And as such, all the management echelons, including the rest of the staff at public institutions, should reflect as much as possible the demography of our country. Regarding the independent power producers, where such contracts are found to be onerous into the future, the experience that has been lent out of the current process is being factored in to mitigate the costs associated with these. And indeed, this matter has come to the fore that there were contracts entered into whose terms are quite onerous. The entity has been asked to look into that matter to see as to how those can be varied so that the terms are more favorable. I think, Chair, insofar as the ownership of this, we would wish to see greater transformation and diversity also within the operators in the space. It's a function, though, that can be left to the external forces in the market, of course, also assisting those that can operate in that space as far as policy permits. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Let's move over to Honorable Klute.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson. You know, the best announcement the President could have made was to privatize ESCOM, but the government has said numerously that ESCOM is not for sale. You have made that very clear from the department, and I think the Deputy Minister will agree with the Minister here. Thus, we are stuck with this problem child, as even the Chairperson of SCOPA said recently. The Minister himself recently wrote the restructuring and reform program for SOEs such as ESCOM is pragmatic and devoid of an ideological fundamentalism. Deputy Minister, everyone has an ideology. Yours is statism, where the state has substantial centralized control over social and economic affairs. Will you at least admit that your intervention in ESCOM or any SOE and subsequent failures, as we are seeing now with ESCOM, is having an enormous effect on the country as a whole and, in fact, destroying our country?
Deputy Minister.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The honorable member has so much said that everyone has an ideology, so it is his ideology that makes him to arrive at the conclusions he makes. But let me just say what is policy of government. The policy of government is that we will pursue a mixed economy in which there is a role for the private sector, there's a role also for the public sector in a sense. And on a case-by-case basis, we've got to look at what is optimal, what is best going forward. And in this regard, given the transformational requirements of the country, it was considered prudent that the energy generator for the country, working together with the private sector, but with a very heavy state presence, should be the solution going forward. If you imagine many of the people who need this, who have had no access to electricity for many years, it is unthinkable that the private sector could be able to provide for that. That is why we keep the arrangement we have and many other reasons. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next question is a question on power supply crisis in KZN ward. This question is from Tim Brodersath and is to the Minister of Public Enterprises. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The response to that question is as follows. The root cause of the power interruptions around Mkomas area, that is in that area, is mainly the theft of Eskom cables. The mostly affected areas include Mkomas substation, that is feeding Watt 99. Widenham substation, Freeland Park and St. Joseph's substations are equally affected. The aforesaid problem started as a small isolated case where Eskom easily repaired or replaced the stolen cables. However, over the years, these theft incidents have escalated to an almost daily occurrence. The modus operandi is that the thieves go to the main supply point, dig around it, and then spike the cable, which causes the breaker to trip. Unfortunately, in some instances, Eskom is unable to supply customers with alternative source of supply. Eskom already has put in place, by way of response to these challenges in the area, the following key interventions: engaging the communities, the local communities, to assist in reporting the theft to the local authorities, reporting these to the local South African police services, the community leadership, as well as structures, including the watch guards. Eskom has also increased security patrols in and around those areas, and as well as replacing some of the underground cables with overhead lines. Eskom has replaced some stolen copper cables with aluminum cables. The above mitigation strategies have been a very expensive exercise. And in addition, overhead networks are prone to lightning strikes during severe weather storms. The high-risk sections around Mkomas and Widenham substations will take about 3 to 6 months to partially convert to overhead lines. About 65% of the network, unfortunately, due to town layout, not all the cable network is easily convertible. Lastly, Chair, Eskom Regional Office in the KwaZulu-Natal province had continuous engagements with the local communities and its leadership around this problem. While Eskom is doing its best in dealing with this in this area, with the most network converted to overhead network, copper theft remains a challenge, and thieves will almost likely move to another area. Government support is required to assist with the cable theft and/or regulating and policing scrap trading, which has created a huge market for this kind of vandalism. But it is the kind of work we can only succeed when we work together. Thank you.
very much. Follow-up question from Honorable Tim Protestant. Tim?
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Deputy Minister. I really appreciate that response. Mr. Deputy Minister, we as the community in Nkomazi spend a lot of time engaging on this particular issue. I'm in fact a member of a WhatsApp group, Ward 99 Service Delivery, and every single day there are outages. And I represent a community in that area that are sick and tired of promises and are only interested in real hope and real change, and they want it now. Deputy Minister, I'm sure you're aware of the challenges in the area and you've highlighted some of them. The problem is that we need a firm commitment from the department relating to the funding that will be spent in the Ward 99 area for the implementation of remedial action to make the lines as safe as possible from criminal elements. And then finally, Deputy Minister, and I mean this not as a gotcha question, but as a real intergovernmental query. When can you instruct senior officials in Eskom to contact me, because they certainly have not been in touch with me at all, and I've tried to contact them, to arrange an urgent intervention meeting on the ground in this area of Nkomazi, so we can resolve the crisis and also meet with the residents and explain the difficulties with them and the solutions going forward. Please, Minister, Deputy Minister, we really need this intervention and your assistance. My details are on the parliamentary website and your officials can contact me. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister, please respond.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thanks as well to the honourable member. A challenge of this magnitude has to be dealt with in a collaborative effort. On the part of government, our commitment is to ensure that energy is secured for all our people, including all the residents in Nkomazi. Our first commitment is to make sure that even when there are these acts by criminals, that alternative ways to secure uninterrupted energy are actually secured at the earliest possible. Of course, resources permitting that. It is a commitment we can make upfront. And secondly, all the stakeholders, all the interested parties need to be engaged because they are part of the solution. To that effect, if the honourable member says he hasn't been consulted or he has not been invited to any of the engagements I referred to, I do undertake that we will cause our Eskom team in KwaZulu-Natal working on the matter to immediately ensure that all the stakeholders are actually made to be part of all the efforts towards finding a solution to the matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Follow-up question, Honorable Bebe. Honorable Bebe.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to the Deputy Minister.
If you can speak slower,
thank you so much,
Honorable
Deputy Minister, for your the network, Honorable Chair.
Okay.
What the problem of the network? Load shedding, Honorable Chair. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, with some difficulty, but yeah.
Honorable Chair.
Please
Can
proceed.
you hear me?
Yeah, please proceed. Speak a bit slower and up to the mic.
Honorable Chair.
That's a bit better. Please proceed.
Yeah,
Honorable
can
Bebesin,
you hear me now?
please proceed.
Can you hear me?
No, siyabuzwa, qhuba nje.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Chairperson,
Okay.
order, Chair.
As we know, Deputy, as
Yes, order.
Minister,
Not point of order.
ESCOM has had-
Honorable Chair is Mr. Ngwezi.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I wanted to raise a point of order that may the Chief Whip deal with this matter. I think the ANC has a lot of members. They can actually address this matter of a member who can't speak because of network. It's not her own making. But the Chief Whip can address this matter, especially of the ANC. Thank you.
And I will look at it, but I'm sure it's noted. But for now, let's try for the last time to see if Honorable Baby cannot proceed. Honorable Baby. There seems to be a problem there. Let's proceed to Honorable Ngwezi of the IFP. Ngwezi.
Thank you very much, Mhlonishwa Nyambos, isihlalo wethu, NCOP. Ngibingelela nakusela ngqongqoshe. Honorable Deputy Minister, from your explanation.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
No, I'll come back to you, BB. Let's have Ngwezi first.
Honorable Deputy Minister, from your explanation that you are giving in this question, it appears that so many issues relate to acts of criminality on the ground. And I would like to know from you whether there are any cases opened perhaps by stakeholder, by ESCOM or rather stakeholders around the area. And if there are cases opened, how far is the investigation on the matter? Because we cannot afford to keep on putting money putting money in the resources we cannot protect. And also, are we giving any kind of protection to strategic infrastructure that we are actually funding or rather putting in different areas of our communities? Because the issue of electricity is quite a very important one. And I know the problems are complex. Thank you, Chair.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I may respond in the general sense first. The campaign we have embarked upon to deal with acts of vandalism insofar as the infrastructure that belongs to our people is concerned. Where we are encouraging, perhaps to that effect, there are many arrests that are taking place, and we are encouraging that people report, because indeed with this emergence of scrapyards and this industry, we've seen the rise as well in the vandalism, particularly of infrastructure that belongs to the state. To that effect, policing has been increased, has been strengthened around this matter, and various dedicated units to that effect are in place. But to be very concise to the question, I would rather we come back to the specifics in respect of Ward 99 and the surrounding areas, insofar as the incidents that had been reported about the acts of criminality in that area. Yes, I agree that we have got to ensure that there is protection of these amenities. That is why ESCOM already is doing some patrols in the area. This is to add to the call made to communities to report to the police whenever they see instances of individuals damaging this infrastructure. But again, my apology, I cannot be specific in this regard given the very pointed nature of the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Luchuli, before we go to Honorable Bebe, start with Luchuli.
Ngiyabonga sihlalo ngibingelele naku asekela umphathiswa womnyango. Sekela mphathisamnyango siyaqonda ukuthi lezi inkinga ebhekelene naleya ndawo inkinga ezikhona nakwezinye indawo futhi siyaqonda ukuthi inkinga kaEskom inkulu kakhulu kepha futhi kunjalo kuyaqondakala ukuthi nezinye indawo ngaphandle kwale ndawo lesikhuluma ngayo njengamanje iyaba nalezi inkinga zisheshe ilungiseke. So umbuzo wami uthi kuwena kungani pho uma ngabe kwezinye indawo inkinga kagesi nokuntshontshwa kwamakhebuli ikwazi ukuthi isheshe ilungiseke le ndawo ingalungiseki kungani kungabonakali sengathi indawo ziyalingana nanokuthi zitreatwa ngendlela elinganayo uma ngabe zihlaselwa lezi inkinga. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thanks for the concern. In our endeavor in providing support to Eskom, firstly, all the customers across the length and breadth of the country are considered to be equal, and therefore measures that are put in one area to intervene in a specific problem are sought to be applied uniformly. That's the policy landscape we have. And where the honorable member gains the impression that there is unequal treatment that is given to customers, where that is pointed out, we would wish to get to have that corrected, if at all it is the case. But policy is very, very clear in this regard. All the people are treated equally. What applies in Ward 99 insofar as that persisting problem would apply in any other part of the country without any preference. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Minister. Let's go back to Honorable Baby. Honorable Baby, let's try again.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Can you hear
please.
me, Chair?
Yeah, siyabuza Kuba.
Okay. Yabo Baba. Honorable Minister, we know Eskom has had to deal with unfortunate situation of power shutdown in Soweto as a result of 18 billion owed to the utility. And this is despite the fact that Eskom has already scrapped the township debt twice in the past. My question, Honorable Deputy Minister, is, does the department have a plan in terms of which to make Soweto people to start paying for electricity in order to avoid a situation where other parts of the country start refusing to buy and pay for electricity? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you so much.
I'm done, Chairperson. Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes,
thank you.
Chairperson, can you hear me?
No, I can hear you. I thought you were done. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. If I can proceed to respond to Honorable Bibi's question. The answer is yes. We do have a number of measures that have been put in place to try and ensure that, just as is the case anywhere else in the country, that the culture of payment of services must be upheld. In respect to Soweto specifically, working with the Department of COGTA, working with SALGA, and working with the Gauteng provincial government, we have mobilized all the stakeholders there towards ensuring that for services that are rendered, there is payment made for that. We have, among others, sought in consultation with the communities there to ensure that there is installed split meters with anti-vandal kiosks, as well as the electrification of the informal settlements. We've also encouraged the conversion of the current conventional Soweto customers to prepaid meters to ensure that this will enhance revenue collection as well as the culture of payment. The enforcement of credit management on the remaining conventional customers, as well as those the disconnections where there are bypassed meters, by ensuring that if we collaborate with security agencies to ensure that these are not corrupted. Of course, also the rolling out of free basic electricity for qualifying residents in line with the metro or municipal area criteria, and as well as actively monitoring that. We are seeing improvements in this regard. The result is that more of our members of the community are paying for they are buying electricity, which attests to the fact that the converting from the previous system into the prepaid system does make for some progress, even though we can still do more, and we're looking to a greater collaboration going forward in this regard. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. We'll now move on to the next question, which is question 25. The question is on impact of SAA challenges on employees. This question is from Honorable Khai and is directed to the Ministry of Public Enterprises. Deputy Minister.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, and thank you to Honorable Member, Honorable Khai. The response is as follows. The department is indeed concerned about the delays in the revival of South African Airways, as the airline has been under business rescue for over a year now, with no resolution, in a sense. The business rescue practitioners, as we all know, are governed by the Companies Act, and the department doesn't have much control over the affairs that they are seized with, as mandated by the Companies Act. The business rescue practitioners were able to pay the voluntary severance packages to about 3,163 employees who had applied for such, as well as paid some 69 employees that were identified as critical for maintenance and care of the airlines. Theirs were deferred. Furthermore, 3 months' salaries were paid to 3,885 employees that signed the settlement agreement for outstanding salaries. If I may, it was out of government's care about employees that these measures were put in place. Ordinarily, perhaps this, without intervention by government, would have been dealt with even more unfavorable terms towards the employees. So yes, we are concerned about the plight of the employees. We are concerned as well about the plight of the airline returning to service at the earliest possible. Thank you very much, Chair.
Yes, thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Follow-up question, Honorable Khai.
Untitled Chapter ngibulele kuwe hlale ngaphambili, ngibulele nakusekela mphathiswa ngempendulo ecacileyo nethe ngqo kumbuzo wakho. Imeko yapha kwa-SAA sekela mphathiswa iyabahlukumeza kakhulu abasebenzi. Zange khe icingeke into yokuba namhlanje sabe sesingenayo eliqumrhu lezobhabha. Ingaba isebe eli manyathelo mani elinawo lokuqinisekisa ukuthi nezinye amanye amaqumrhu aphantsi kwesebe eli awanozibona sekwimeko efana nale yakwa-SAA apho abasebenzi bangaphela bephelelwa yimisebenzi. Enkosi.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. As the department, we are doing as much to make sure that all the state-owned companies under our wing are optimal in their operations, and that we could avoid the incidents where employees tend to be negatively affected. We have specific interventions that are aimed towards Alexco, which is currently facing liquidity challenges. We're providing the same attention to Denel, which is in itself experiencing a number of challenges to do with their cash flows. Eskom, we've just spoken about it in terms of what is being done, including the turnaround strategy in this. We've also noted the incidents that have given rise to some of the problems, malfeasance and corruption. And to that effect, we have a number of investigations and matters that have been referred for criminal investigations to the National Prosecuting Authority, where we're looking at making recoveries where such are possible. A number of these would have been spoken about in the Zondo Commission. These are measures that are in place to try and ensure that the situation in these state-owned companies is averted to be what is expected of them. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. We move on then to the follow-up question from Honorable Klute. Klute? There seems to be a problem there with Honorable Klute. Let's move on to Honorable Zanda Mer.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to the Minister. Minister, how far are you in the process of selecting an equity partner for SAA from the three that we had identified? What kind of partnership agreement are you looking at? And are you expecting them to take on SAA debt as well? Thank you very much.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. That process is indeed underway, in which the entity is also looking at the acquiring of strategic equity partners. We are hoping to conclude that matter. Maybe let me just say where I have read well the Minister's intent is that in a month's time, that matter should have been concluded and an announcement will be made in respect of equity partners. And insofar as the nature of that relationship, we are not looking at entirely moving out of that space. There will be some form of ownership that will reside with the state, and of course, some ownership in terms of equity that will be in the private hands. The overall, it's sharing of all that relates to both the assets and liabilities of the entity going forward. The solution includes both of those. So in essence, yes, it's a matter whose announcement is imminent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's try Honorable Klute again. Honorable Klute, follow-up question.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for that interruption. I beg your pardon. You know, Honourable Deputy Minister, the opposition actually anticipated this and have warned against this for years. South African taxpayers have paid tens of billions to bailouts to SAA over the past decade. We have seen bailout upon bailout, and it's, as we presume, another failed business rescue plan. It is no plane up in the air. So I ask the question what every South African is asking: are we done now with giving SAA more money?
Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Insofar as SAA is concerned, the restructuring of that entity, as well as its repositioning going forward, it's a matter that would entail some financing. It's part of the rescue plan, considered all those elements. And going forward, it is only that which has been articulated in that rescue plan that would be up for funding going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next follow-up question is from Honorable Ryder. Honorable Ryder.
Chairperson.
Yes. Nana.
Chairperson, Honorable
Yes.
Honorable Ryder had connectivity issues. He sent me a WhatsApp a short while ago and has asked me to deliver his follow-up question.
Please do.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, we've had you mentioning numbers. Both are in excess of 3,000 wherein severance packages were paid, and in one instance, 3,845 employees were paid 3 months' salaries. But Deputy Minister, we know of employees who have had to sell assets to keep putting food on the table, as their savings and other income streams dried up during lockdown. We've heard of employees forced into prostitution. We've heard of employees taking their own lives because of the financial hardships brought about by your department's failure to pay out the agreed severance packages. You have blood on your hands. Deputy Minister, the Treasury made available the funds that your department said it needed to meet the commitments of SAA. Your department has failed to adhere to your own government's labor laws. If a private company dared to do what you did, there would be outcry throughout the country. When will you apologize and pay amounts due to these employees at SAA? Thank you.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Certainly, the plight of the employees at SAA is a matter that we were equally touched or equally concerned with. That is why, in the first instance, we made sure that part of the solution includes a portion of money that should be paid out to employees. And all the employees, as far as I know, that had requested as such, that had signed up to it, were paid, unless there would be information I'm not exposed to that would suggest the contrary. As such, I may really not comment on the comments the honourable member is making. As of blood in our hands, definitely no, unless it were to be demonstrated that there were monies due that ought to have been paid but were not paid. We had in place processes to facilitate that, and as far as we know, the numbers I'm referring to were numbers that followed due processes that were detailed and defined beforehand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. I'll move on to question number 17. This question is on labor court order and pending cases against DINER. The question is from Honorable A. Arnold, and is to the Ministry of Public Enterprises. Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The response to the question is as follows. Yes, we are aware of such developments, and as soon as we were in the question is whether we have had on numerous failed to comply with labor codes to pay employees. The answer to that, yes, we have been aware of such, and we have since ensured that there is an improvement in operations in some of the operating divisions so that there could be a situation in which the outstanding salary payments could be effected. Of course, also we had targeted investments in working capital into those operations that had higher prospects for reasonable quick cash flows. The board and management, lastly, are consulting labor on the various options on improving the operational activities and productivity, which are central to cash generation. Thus far, I can answer to that question, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Follow-up question, Honorable Arnold.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Deputy Minister, thank you for the response. Deputy Minister, South Africa has a high unemployment rate, and those who are unemployed live from hand to mouth month after month. It therefore cannot be business as usual when state-owned entities fail to pay their workers their salaries. What consequences, if any, will there be for the management and directors of the NEL for their failure to pay salaries and their failure to comply with the August 2020 court order that instructed them to do so? Thank you.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Member. In my earlier response, I have referred to the challenges that the institution faced in terms of its operating environment and the attendant cash access to resources in that sense. I've also referred to the fact that the board currently is engaging the employees in respect of looking at the entire environment, including opportunities for new cash inflows to help the organization going forward. The matter, yes, has been before court, and that it's been pleaded in court by way of the special circumstances that obtained before the powers that be, that is your management, including the board in this regard. We are very sympathetic to the board as well as the management, given our understanding of the plight that that organization is going through. We would encourage that all the parties find each other so that there could be worked at a solution that could be a win-win for all in that case. Certainly, yes, we consider it very extremely grave that employees had not been paid for this long. Thank you very much.
The question is what consequences, Minister? Is there any consequences? Nothing. Say no.
Follow-up question, Honorable Smith. Honorable Smith from the DA.
Chairperson, Honorable Smith is also battling. Would you mind if I take this question? Yes.
To take the question again, you take the question.
Yes, Chairperson.
Nana, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, as you know, and you have also alluded to this issue, that at the center of the labor court actions by employees at Denel is the company's liquidity issues, which have led to it being unable to pay salaries, and consequently unions obtained a labor court order compelling the employer to pay their salaries. Once again, your government is flouting its own labor relations regulations. The truth of the matter is that Denel currently does not have many projects in its books. Hence, they find themselves forced into this situation. Their biggest project at this stage is Project Wolfester, which I'm sure you know about. Even this project, Honorable Deputy Minister, is now unlikely to come to fruition, as it is 9 years behind schedule, and with recent massive cuts to the defense budget, it is very likely to be shelved. What is your department doing to ensure that this project succeeds and eventually improves the cash flows and the balance sheet at Denel? Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. If I may plead with honorable members that we have at hand a situation that requires that we have a quick turnaround of the organization, that is Denel, to be in a position to meet its obligations towards workers and other interested parties. And to that effect, together with the board, we have identified a path to that. I would just plead that let us give the opportunity to both ourselves, the board, to take the committee or committees of parliament into confidence about that. As of consequences, where there is a case in which willfully there has been neglected doing what was supposed to be done, you have in that instance to take measures. In this instance, it's not that there has been anyone who didn't want to pay, but the question is how to secure that with which to pay. Yes, Wolfester is one of the key priorities for which we are in conversations with the DOD as well as all the affected parties to visit again that project, including other projects. Wolfester, I wouldn't say we should count it out. It is quite one of the key programs that needs to be taken up to change the fortunes of that institution. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to Honorable Mudise. Follow-up question.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. Let me greet my colleagues. Thank you very much, Deputy Minister, for your comprehensive response. It shows that ANC-led government is on top of the issues. Honorable Deputy Minister, last year, Parliament expressed shock that the entity had suffered unaudited loss of 1.8 billion for the financial year 2019-2020, which was attributed to a significant decline in revenue and poor program management. So my question is, what was the department done to get to the bottom of this? And what was the action has been taken to remedy the situation in order to avert a potential duress situation? Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. The response is as follows. Since 2019, the department, in consultation with critical stakeholders in Denel, has been working on repositioning of the state-owned company and its business model. Denel has been given the approval to exit loss-making business divisions, as well as selling non-core assets. The focus in the immediate is to fix the operational performance and delivery on contracts in order to boost cash flows and working capital that is required to support the operations, including the payment of salaries, among others. The medium to long-term focus will be on the business model of the entity to support access to stable export markets and access to capital with limited government support. Thank you very much. That's as far as I can respond to that question. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ngwezi, your follow-up question. Follow-up question, Honorable Ngwezi. Seems there's a problem there. And that being the case, we'll move on to the next question. And that is question 22. Question 22 is a question on failure to propose promised bill from Honorable Nana to the Minister or the Minister of Public Enterprises. Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The department has indeed, over the few years, including the period before our tenure, that is before 2019, committed to producing an overarching government shareholder management bill in line with the recommendations of the Presidential Review Commission on State-Owned Enterprises that published its report in 2014. The approach to market and source the skills to undertake the effort was embarked on. We preferred that as a way of dealing with the matter, given the skills base that had eroded within the department owing to the challenges the department was going through. But what became a limitation was that the quotations that we got for that work were beyond the resources that we marshaled as the department at the time. Further, attempts at initiating the effort to undertake this effort internally, besides the low skill base, were thwarted by the immediacy, the necessity to strengthen the governance systems at state-owned enterprises through the appointment of boards and management and the review of governance oversight frameworks. This work became a priority as we sought to immediately unravel the state capture damage at the DPE as well as in the state-owned enterprises. The appointment of the Presidential State-Owned Enterprises Council meant that the department now had access to skills that ordinarily would not have been able to afford it to oversee the government shareholder management development effort. In line with the 2021 SONA commitments, the government shareholder management bill will be concluded by the end of 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you very much, Chair.
Mr. Nana, Honorable Nana, follow-up question.
Thanks, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, not that I really care about whether the shareholder management bill flies or not. Quite frankly, I'm not a fan of that bill. I asked you the original question just to tweak your mind and get to understand where does the department stand. Some South Africans are justifiably concerned that this proposed shareholder management bill will actually further strengthen the hand of the state in running the SOEs. What guarantees can you give this House and the civil society that this bill will bring that actually this bill will bring decentralization of power and give more input to the public. Thank you.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The bill is not yet in place, and that if I were to speak to what the bill will do, I'll almost be talking as though I was privy of what the bill contains of. But surely the concerns that the honorable member has, he will able, and together with all the other people who think the same way he does, they will be able to put their views across, because any bill, as we know, in our country would be taken to various forms of public participation events. It will be consulted upon widely so that it reflects as far as possible the majority sentiment in the country in respect of how to manage these enterprises. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Apleni, your follow-up question.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, you would forgive me for the video. We have the power outages, so my battery is about to die. Deputy Minister, the Minister in 2019, in his address to the Select Committee on Public Enterprises, on your department's annual performance plans and budget, he said that the ultimate goal was to have self-sustaining entities whose executives could be held accountable, and that the shareholders management bill would achieve this. Considering the department's failure to propose this bill, what other measures has your department put in place to ensure that self-sustaining of SOEs and accountability from their executives? Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I hope I've made it clear that in respect of this shareholder management bill, it was only the resources that were proved a constraint at that time, including the priority that changed, that made us not to have completed that exercise. So as it is, that exercise is envisaged to be completed by the end of 2022. And in respect of ensuring that these entities, as far as possible, are self-sustaining, indeed, yes, that is the goal, and it remains the goal we have. And some indeed are self-sustaining without requiring the fiscus from time to time being relied upon for their operations. So yes, through our efforts, that is the long term, that is the goal we seek to achieve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Honorable Klute.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Follow-up question.
Thank you, Chairperson. We've seen this this bill and not much information. And as a Deputy Minister has said, it still needs to come to Parliament, as I understand it. But when I read about this, there were some issues I was wondering about, especially relating to the fact that the Deputy Minister himself said that this bill will allow for tighter oversight. Now, when I hear oversight, I think about Parliament. My question is, when the bill is processed and everything is, and it's being written, is Parliament's oversight role also considered in this? And in what way will it strengthen our oversight over SOEs?
Deputy Minister.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. In fact, it is Parliament that will pass that bill. So surely I don't imagine Parliament passing a bill that would emasculate the power of Parliament in terms of oversight. So it goes without saying that the role of Parliament remains as we know it today, and expanded as we keep expanding that mandate of the oversight function of Parliament. Thank you very much. The honourable member need not be worried about that.
Follow-up question, Honorable Matibe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, and thank you very much, Deputy Minister, for the response. In the interim, while Parliament is still working on the shareholder management bill, has the department put in place measures that ensures that the boards and the executives of all the entities are held accountable? And has there been any disciplinary criminal charges of those found to have acted improperly? You might not elaborate all of them, but just a few examples that are there. Thank you very much.
Honorable Chairperson.
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Yes, indeed, the department has made some interventions, like the development of minimum standards for board performance evaluations, as but one. Secondly, the review of the remuneration guide, as well as the risk and integrity framework, among others, are some of the reforms that have been put in place, designed to ensure that the boards and the executives are remunerated and held accountable in line with their performance and that of the state-owned company. And as well to manage the conflict of interest concerning employees and board members for these state-owned companies. Thirdly, prohibiting employees and board members from receiving or soliciting gifts from companies doing business with the state-owned companies, the state-owned company in question, including lastly, the prohibition of employees and board members from doing business with the state-owned companies. Governance cleanup is taking place across all state-owned companies, and the boards have made significant strides in pursuing recovery of funds that were illegally diverted from the state-owned companies, and some matters are currently under criminal investigations. The department continues to track implementation and recommendations contained in the SOC forensic reports in order to ensure that those found to have transgressed prescripts are held accountable in line with the laws of the country. The SOCs are working closely with the relevant law enforcement authorities in this regard. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. We'll now move on to question 26. The question is on turning things around at SOEs. This question is from Honorable M.L. Mushodi and is directed to the Ministry of Public Enterprises. Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. The response is as follows. The dire financial state of our state-owned companies is a product of state capture-inspired leadership appointments, which were a precursor to the systemic looting of these public companies, as the Honorable Member has correctly pointed out, but are also a result of business models and practices that have not been reviewed and changed over a long time, leaving the SOCs behind when compared to SOEs in other parts of the world and local private sector competitors. The specter of technology and the resultant indirect substitution of services and products that would not have been foreseen at the founding of our SOEs. It is critical to point out that the SOEs can be successful businesses. Some of the most biggest by way of revenue in the world companies are state-owned companies, and a number of them would be found in the US, in China, in the Netherlands, as well as Germany, just to name a few. Specifically, We are adopting models that are aimed at ensuring this learning from best practices in the world, like ensuring effective legal and regulatory frameworks, ensuring that the ownership is clearly enunciated, as well as ensuring the equitable treatment of shareholders, management of relations with stakeholders, the transparency and disclosures by the SOEs, as well as ensuring that there's clarity in respect of the responsibilities of the board. We do have a sense across the board in respect to where our state-owned companies are and what needs to be done. And we are really working hard to ensure that we achieve the necessary turnaround for all of them. I do have rather a very lengthy paper here, which could be made available as part of responding to this comprehensively. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. We'll then move on to a follow-up question by Honorable Mushodi. Honorable Mushodi.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister, for the comprehensive response. We are happy that the department is looking at other global models to building the governance base that will ensure high level of success in our state-owned enterprise, especially those that suffered many years on state capture and blundered systematic looting and rechanneling of public resources from the benefit of individuals and their families and friends. My question, Honorable Deputy Minister, is when do you expect all this intervention to start translating into improved services offerings in the SOEs and for people to start seeing some of these SOEs improving with no load shedding, SSA taking to the sky, PRAZA providing reliable train services to commuters, DINEL going back to be a major player in the production and sale of weapons and defense equipment. When do you think we will see these results, Honorable Chair? Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you again, Honorable Chair. With respect to the recovery of funds as a case in point, particularly following investigations to some of the corruption cases, I could say we have already, ESCOM has already completed the first phase of mandatory lifestyle audits, with 383 lifestyle audits completed on executive and senior managers and their partners where such was required. Of the 34 high-risk cases handed over to the SIU for further investigation, 7 resulted in no adverse findings, 8 resulted in recommendations and referral to ESCOM for disciplinary action, and 7 employees resigned during that process, and 1 ESCOM official was dismissed. Remaining cases are still under investigation. On criminal investigations underway by the Director of Priority Crimes and Investigations and the NPA relates to evidence from the Zondo Commission and referrals. To date, I can just highlight the following recoveries that have been made. A 10.5 billion value of contracts set aside as a result of SIU interventions, a recovery from ABB of 1.5 billion, 1.1 billion from McKinsey, 1.77 million from Deloitte, PwC 93 million, an amount of 3.8 billion civil suit has been launched against former board members, former executives, as well as the Gupta family. There is progress on Zondo Commission, which relates to a number of activities as well as follow through that is being undertaken in that regard. Alex Co, we have terminated some of the illegally entered into contracts like Scarlet Sky Investments, There are many other such developments across the landscape of our SOCs for which interventions decisively are being made. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. We then move on to a follow-up question from Honorable Ngwezi. Honorable Ngwezi, if your problem has been sorted out. One more time, Honorable Ngwezi. There being no response, we'll move on to Honorable Mletsane.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Minister, if indeed there was work done by the Department of Public Enterprises to assist public entities to turn things around, did the department use consultants or its own employees who are experts in their fields? If consultants were used, when does the minister envision his department to start employing people with the relevant qualifications and expertise to run public entities? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. As a matter of practice, first we have to exhaust the available skills we have internally on any assignments. It's only after such has been exhausted that we look to the external support by way of external service providers. Yes, there had been occasions in which external service providers had been used, and it is also something that is done not as a permanent feature. It is done given the absence of that in terms of the expertise we have. We are in the process of completing an organizational structure that has taken account of the need of the expertise we need in the department. I am sure with the populating of that organogram, the need for external hands will be minimal. And of course, all of this is done in a manner that is open to scrutiny wherever such a need arises. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. We'll proceed to a question by Honorable Boshoff. For our question, Honorable Boshoff.
Good afternoon, Chair, and good afternoon to you, DM. DM, I find it strange that you and your government...
Yeah, try and speak a bit louder and closer to the mic.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, DM. I find it strange that you and your government have waited so long before adopting the good practices from all the other countries. But that said, Deputy Minister, you must admit that the SOEs are engulfed by more challenges than success. It is about time that government exits the stage and simply let business do what they know best. And I think you get the gist of my sentence there. It is also clear that the centralization of SOEs under one department has failed. This was a state capture project that should be undone. Eskom belongs with the Energy Department, Denel with Defence, Transnet with Transport, and so on. Deputy Minister, when will you and your minister resign and ask that the entities be returned to the appropriate departments? I thank you, Chair.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I think firstly, let me just say that the adoption of best practice is arising out of looking at a range of state-owned companies across different systems in the world. The Chinese have state-owned companies, so is the United States, so is Great Britain, Germany, etc. They all operate, Malaysia, and they all operate in a particular way. It's not like there is one size that fits everything. You take the best from across. That's the first thing. Whether or not we think that we should exit that space and give these to the private sector to do what it's good at, we have policy as government, and that policy recognizes that there is a room in the affairs of society for the private sector as well as the public sector. In this case, we have not reached a point at which we think that such entities as ESCOM we should exit from in the manner desired by the honourable member, and I guess also the other colleagues of hers. Whether or not these are in one department, I would like just to correct that impression. State-owned companies are not in one department. I think the honourable member needs to correct that. There are state-owned companies in various departments of state. They are not only, we only have 6 or 7 out of more than 500 state-owned companies, some of which you may not even know them, but they are placed in many departments, not in one department. For sure, that understanding must be corrected. And lastly, it's really the prerogative of the president to keep or fire ministers and deputy ministers. And in this instance, we have not had the occasion to think that we could ask of the president to retire us, but maybe the honourable member could then appeal to the president for that, because that instrument rests with the president. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm told that Honorable Ngwezi is back. So we'll go back to him. Your follow-up question, Honorable Ngwezi? Honorable Ngwezi, I'm told that Honorable Ngwezi is back. Is now connected. So to ask Honorable Ngwezi to pose his follow-up question.
Chairperson, I can see that Honorable Ngwezi is in the virtual house, but I'm not sure what's happening with him. His mic is off as well as his video, but his name appears on the list.
We will then proceed. These honorable members brings us to the end of questions to the Deputy Minister of Public Enterprises. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Deputy Minister for availing himself to answer the question. So I will now hand over to the Deputy Chair of the NCOP, Honorable Lucas, as we move on to questions directed at the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Chairperson, I don't think I will leave my video on all the time because of all the emissions that we are actually generating by using our videos on the Zoom platform. But let me continue and just welcome the Honorable Minister of Public Works, Honorable Patricia de Lille Antipat. We want to welcome you to the NCOP, and we will continue and request that I don't have to remind you that for the first response, there is 5 minutes. And then for each of the follow-up questions, you can respond for 4 minutes. And then, honorable members, for the follow-up questions that you are going to ask, You each have 2 minutes. So, Honorable Minister Patricia de Lille, welcome to the NCOP. And remember that we have been thinking of you through your difficult time. And we believe that God has been able to comfort you. So you may continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and good afternoon to all the honorable members. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to spend some time with the NCOP members today. The question that I will deal with first is around the Bay Bridge issue. Now, Honorable Chairperson, to have an informed position on the feasibility of rectifying all physical defects of the Bay Bridge border fence, the Acting Director General of the department sent a technical condition assessment team out to Bay Bridge in December of 2020 to make an assessment of the extent of the border fence and the deficiencies and breaches. So the technical team has discovered that the fence in its current form is not fit for purpose, and that it's in non-compliance also with the specifications, and the department has taken a decision not to further entertain any repairs or maintenance to the existing fence. It will also lead to irregular expenditure. Now, any further border fence initiatives will be located in the context of the integrated border management solution that's currently underway. And in this regard, the site clearance process is aimed as being completed by June 2021 this year, from where the department will then embrace and utilize best practice approach to border security in consultation with the Department of Defense. Chairperson, we have prepared a request for information, a request for ideas on the integrated border fence solutions. We are looking at finding solutions and testing the market as to what is available to fix our porous borders. And this request for information will go out in the coming Sunday's newspapers, and it will also be published on the government tender portal for a request for information. Once we have received the new ideas and the best practice, we will then consult with the Department of Defense, who are the user department, and then decide on a way forward. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Mama Rehane, do you have a follow-up question?
Thanks, Deputy Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for the comprehensive response. But what is fast becoming clear is that our borders are porous generally, which poses seriously challenges to the security of our country.
Yes.
My follow-up question is, does the department have a plan to secure all other borders in addition to correcting the mess that unfolded along the Bay Bridge? Thank you, Deputy Chairperson.
Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Yes, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, we have now joined the Interministerial Committee, the Security Cluster. And in that security cluster, we also have the Minister of Home Affairs, who is now responsible for the implementation of the new border management authority. The minister has already appointed an acting commissioner. And yes, we are now all working together to find a long and lasting solution for the border fences. The Minister of Home Affairs is also working together with a DPWI in looking at the not only the border posts, but we will also be looking at the type of fencing. We are doing research, Honourable Member, to see what is the best solution for our country. And we're also looking at different methodologies, because as we know that the fiscus of the country is not in a good space, and therefore we are looking at BOT, build, operate and transfer. We are looking at public-private partnerships, because this project of over 3,000 kilometers, it is quite a big project. And we can and we will give the NCOP, honourable members, an update from time to time about the progress that we are making. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Boshoff, your follow-up question.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. Good afternoon, Minister. Minister, your response today and responses given to the National Assembly in February indicate that you intend to ignore the recommendations of SCOPA to remedy the defects in the Beitbridge border fence. It is clear that you are washing your hands off this washing line, and that the taxpayers of South Africa must once again fit the 40 million bill for your department's incompetence and or criminal behavior. This House should also then be aware that Treasury is currently considering whether to remove Magwa Construction as a contractor for government business. Will you, Minister, give the House today an update on these developments and advise the House on steps your department is taking to ensure that this company is never ever again contracted, regardless of Treasury recommendations? Or, Minister, will you simply, as before, pass the buck and allow this company to get away with it? Thank you very much, Chair.
Honourable Minister, you may respond.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Member, if you have read the order paper, you will see there is a question coming around the service providers and what the SIU has been doing. So I will be addressing that part of your question in another question that is to follow after, that's on the order paper today. Secondly, you are not correct, Honourable Member, to say that in February I have rejected any proposals. We have said from the beginning that when we went before SCOPA, if you go and look at the recording of SCOPA, you will see that I have said it emphatically in that debate with SCOPA, that we will not repair the existing fence or fix it. If we do so, it will be irregular expenditure, and therefore we are not going to fix a fence that is not fit for purpose. So that is in the recording with SCOPA, and I will advise the Honourable Member to go and have a look at the video of my answer to SCOPA on that day. Honourable members must remember that, yes, we all agree that this was a mess, a complete mess. And therefore, we have started the investigations. I was the one who wrote to the Auditor General in April of 2020 to ask for an investigation. On the 25th of April, I further gave instructions to the anti-corruption unit within the department to do an investigation, which has been done with the assistance of the SIU. And then again, on the 25th of April, I issued a further instruction to the department not to make any further payments to the companies. So the record is there, and the report is being submitted to SCOPA and to the Portfolio Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure, and the facts are all in there. I thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up is by Honourable Francois du Toit.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Klute, can you hear me?
We hear you.
I will be asking the rest of the questions for Honourable du Toit on oversight in Northwest.
Continue.
Thank you very much. Honourable Minister, I kind of feel for you because I think you have nightmares about this and you just wish it to go away, but it remains a dirty laundry issue. As you are aware, the Beitbridge fence was built to the amount of 40.4 million. A lot of money being spent there and misspent. My question to you is, and you spoke about the request for investigations, were there any consequence management up to now or any disciplinary action against any officials or executives, and were any funds recovered for the substandard work done on the fence?
Over to you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. In the question that will follow, the SIU did approach both companies, and the SIU is in the process of wanting to declare those contracts null and void. And that I will answer in the question later on. Yes, we have also given a report to SCOPA and to the Portfolio Committee on consequence management and how far we are with consequence management. That has been ongoing. And we are giving updates to the Portfolio Committee, and we can do the same updates to the members of the NCOP as and when requested. But there was consequence management. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The last follow-up will be by Honourable Brenda Matibula.
Minister, how far is the Special Investigating Unit SIU with their pursuit of civil litigation to recover the money that your department wasteful paid to the contractors that your department approved to erect the fences at the Beitbridge border? Thank you, Minister.
Before the Minister responds, Honourable Matibula, the Minister has been indicating on various occasions that she will be responding in full in another question that will follow. Will it be fine if she then go to that question when it come up and respond to all the issues around the Beitbridge, particularly with regards to the Special Investigations Unit? Do you agree, Honourable Matibula? I'm asking. So that you don't have to
going to respond today, Chair?
Yes, she said it is a question that is still coming up. So she will be able to give the comprehensive response when that question comes.
Okay, no problem, Chair.
Yes, thank you very much. Because I'm afraid you will have to tell you in a question that is coming, I will respond to that thing, and that is what I don't want. I want to give this so everyone can get a comprehensive response. So let us move to the next question. The next question is by Honourable Brotteset of the DA, and Honourable Minister, we will give to you to respond on that one. That is question number 19.
Yes. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Brudesh. I have received your the submission that you've put with the question. Honourable Chairperson, I just want to say that the bill before Parliament today will bring certainty to South Africans and all investors, because it clearly outlines how expropriation can be done and on what basis it can be done. As we all know, expropriation is done all over the world. In the United States, it's called eminent domain. In the UK, New Zealand, many European countries, and also in Africa. The existing Expropriation Act dates back to 1975. And the Presidential Advisory Panel pointed out that the 1975 Act is inconsistent with the Constitution, and the correction of that has been long delayed. The panel also pointed out that the 1975 Act undermines the constitutional principles enshrined that must be lawful, procedurally fair, and reasonable administrative justice. Now, this is the current position, Honourable Chair. In terms of various existing laws, the President, at least 7 national ministers, all the premiers, all the municipalities have powers to expropriate. What is needed is a law of general application that will ensure that any act of expropriation is in compliance with the Constitution of 1996. And so all of the bodies will have to exercise their powers in terms of the new expropriation bill, if and when it is enacted into law. Now, Honorable Chairperson, I have noticed that, since the bill has been published in October of 2020 and submitted to Parliament for further processing, material facts about the bill have been twisted and somewhat also distorted. And this has become a consistent mechanism that is being, that is used by opponents of land reform. So the expropriation bill describes that there are rigorous procedures and processes to arrive at no compensation. Nowhere in the bill does it talk about land grabs, nor does it prescribe expropriation. The bill was also certified by the Chief State Law Advisor as being constitutional, and that also expropriation is only one of the methods that may be used for the acquisition of land that could be used for land reform. Now, I briefly want to refer to Section 25 of the Constitution, provides for a solid and clear foundation for the implementation of the law, and it states that property may be expropriated only in terms of a law of general application for public purpose or in the public interest and subject to compensation, the amount of which and the time and manner of payment of which have been either agreed to by those affected or decided by a court. Now, in terms of Section 34 of the Constitution, everyone in this country has the right to have any dispute that can be resolved by the application of law in a fair public hearing, can bring it before an appropriate court. Because really, Chairperson, it really makes no sense that a democratic government will now revert back to the old apartheid-style practices of taking homes and businesses away from the people. And surely also no court in this country will agree to it. So the expropriation bill sets out the procedures that the authorities must follow before and during expropriation, how compensation must be calculated and how compensation must be paid, and where and how decisions can be challenged. All decisions can be challenged. It also includes a mediation process, and it guarantees access to the court as the final form of oversight and decision-making. Honorable Chair, the bill is now before Parliament, and South Africans do have another opportunity to make their proposals to Parliament so that we can conclude the expropriation bill and replace and repeal the 1975 Act of Parliament. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Bratusev, you can ask your follow-up question.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chairperson. And may I just start by also extending my sincere condolences to the Minister for the loss of her dear husband. But back to the hot kitchen of politics, Minister. Minister, I thank you for your very detailed answer. You've covered some of the areas, but there are still concerning references, Minister, to issues such as references in the bill to intellectual property, that the reasons for nil compensation are currently unlimited, that the bill could encourage land grabs on unoccupied private property. It also discourages property speculation and investment. Minister, you've also referred to access to court. What if the person who needs to take it to court doesn't have the funds to go to court? Who will cover those costs? Now, Minister, you know that we were colleagues in the DA not so long ago, and you know the DA's strong commitment to orderly and legal land reform. There is no doubt of that. It's quite well documented. I am, however, concerned that your department is engaging with this bill in slash and burn Stalinist tactics, which will have a ruinous effect on investment in South Africa. So the question I have for you, ministers, are you compelled by your position to be a follower of the glorious ANC National Democratic Revolutionary disaster? Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and thank you, Honourable Bruches. I must learn to say your surname correct, so my apologies if I don't pronounce it correct. You know, there are some interesting developments in our country. We had a consultation with more than 83 countries, embassies in our country, to brief them on the expropriation bill. And it was very, very well received and supported by all the countries. One of the issues, Honourable Member, that they did raise was the issue of intellectual property rights. And we have received some good proposals from the international community around the issue of intellectual property rights. We have taken those inputs from the international community, and I will be submitting them to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee in the National Assembly, who's driving the process for Parliament to consider those proposals. Just around who will pay the cost, as you will see, there's another new bill called the Land Court Bill. And in the Land Court Bill, it really deals with access for especially the poorest in our country, the most vulnerable. We already have assistance for people to access the courts through our legal aid system. But with a dedicated land court, there will certainly be assistance for people who want to dispute or who want to challenge any decision that was made, because nobody, Honourable Member, must be denied access to the courts on the basis that he or she does not have money. And as members of Parliament, we must ensure that that must not be the case when it comes to the Land Court Bill that is also before Parliament now. But thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable Silindile Lutuli, it's your turn.
Ngibonge sihlalo ngibingelele kumphathiswa Mnyango. Mphathiswa Mnyango, when we choose to focus our attention on property owners and the right of a few privileged citizens in this country, we digress from the legitimate politics of land expropriation and redistribution, as well as the rights and interests of those who were dispossessed of their land. The question that we should be asking is, what action will you take to ensure that the expropriation of land without compensation and its redistribution is a transparent process that will safeguard the rights of the landless and dispossessed? I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Lutuli. Honourable Minister.
Honourable Member of the EFF, thank you for the question. That is why we follow the legislative process to design laws that can protect the rights of everyone in South Africa. It must protect the land of the landless. It must protect the rights of the landowners. And that is the balance that we are seeking in the expropriation bill, so that we create a balance between the landowners and the landless. Because the facts are in our country that many of our people are landless. And we know the ownership patterns of land within our country. There is also another policy of government which is called the land donation policy. And I was really surprised to see how many landowners can now come forward to donate land to the state. And that is all to find the balance so that we make sure our people can no longer wait for land reform. Land reform includes land restitution that we must speed up and complete. Land reforms include land redistribution, and we are starting to redistribute land from that's owned by the state, and then land tenure. That is the broad land reform program in our country. Expropriation is but one mechanism of acquisition. So I agree with you, Honourable Member, that we must move with speed and urgency to deal with the legislative framework so that we can speed up land reform in South Africa. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable High, Mandla High, you may ask your follow-up.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chairperson, and thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Firstly, the National Democratic Revolution is not a disaster. It is about the liberation of Black people in general and Africans in particular. My question, therefore, is that considering that issues relating to land are a function of the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, and Rural Development, has there been, Honourable Minister, any level of cooperation with the said department, and if any, will there be any cooperation in future once the bill has been passed? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable High. Honourable Minister.
Honourable Member, yes, indeed, very good cooperation. There is an interministerial committee chaired by Deputy President Mabuza, and all the ministers that deal with land-related issues are members of that. Also within Cabinet, I'm working very closely with the Minister of Land Reform and Agriculture, especially around the issue of restitution. We are in the process and we're making good progress to return some of the farmland, agricultural land, to people that were dispossessed or were forcibly removed from their farms. And yes, we are making good progress. I learned a lot from the minister. She has been in the portfolio where I am today, and she's leading the land reform program. So indeed, Honourable Member, I want to assure you there's very, very good cooperation between myself and all the ministers in the Interministerial Committee. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last follow-up is by Honourable Ngwezi of the Inkatha Freedom Party. Honourable Ngwezi, thank you. I see you there. Continue.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, and greetings to Minister Delil. Colleagues, the follow-up question on this one is, what are the government's plans for land held under the custodianship of traditional leaders? Will this land also be considered under any land redistribution schemes, or will traditional leaders' model of custodianship of this land be allowed to remain? If not, why not? Ngoba sikhathazekile ngodaba lwamakhosi. Ahlale shuya ngemuva amakhosi makwenziwe inhlelo zikahulumeni angachazelwa kahle.
Thank you.
Honourable Minister, did you get the question?
Yes, I did get the first part of the question, and I can answer, Honourable Chairperson. I don't know if the summary in Zulu was part of the first part of the question, but let me attempt to answer the first part. I
also
want to
put on your translation function, because there is translation, eh?
Oh.
Let them assist you in putting on the translation function, but continue, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the advice, Honourable Chairperson. The land owned by traditional leaders, that process is led by Minister Dadisa. I know that Minister Dadisa has done a lot of work around the issue of communal land, traditional land. She has also, we send a delegation and to a few African countries to go and see what is the experience of how they deal with communal and traditional land. And so that process is led by Minister Dadisa and as part of the IMC. But she is the lead department there, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And we will now continue and come to question number 28, as asked by Honorable Landsman. I hope it's the question that will satisfy all of those that want to hear the response on this one. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The SIU launched an application on the 23rd of September 2020 to freeze the banking accounts of the service providers. The SIU tribunal then made an order by agreement that the service providers would not make any further claims for payment from the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. On the 17th of November 2020, the SIU instituted legal actions against Caledon River Properties Pty Limited, Makwa, and Prof Team CC with the special tribunal under the case number GP 17/2020. So the main relief sought in the application is a declaration of invalidity of the contracts concluded between DPWI and the respondents, the service providers. This application was opposed and the matter has been enrolled to argue jurisdiction, which was also raised as a point of inlumni. And then the matter was then heard on the 26th of January 2020 in the special tribunal. The tribunal then on the 25th of February 2021 dismissed the respondents' points in Lumni, and the matter will proceed in the absence of any appeal. Now, summonses for the loss and or damages suffered by the department will be issued once the SIU declares the contracts null and void. So that is the latest update around the SIU tribunal procedures, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Landsman, you may ask your follow-up question. Is there a problem here, Landsman? I just saw you. Honorable Moimang.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Landsman has a connectivity challenge, so therefore delegated the question to me. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair, and greetings to the Minister. The follow-up question is as follows, Minister. Has the department been able to uncover any evidence that could potentially point in the direction of officials of the department facilitating this contracting processes that could lead to the department taking action against them? Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Moimang. Honorable Minister, you may respond.
Honorable Chairperson, yes, the department instituted disciplinary action against 13 of the department officials. And that process is ongoing. But as I was saying, If there's a need for a report to the NCOP, we can certainly bring you the latest update. But I can confirm that disciplinary action was instituted against 13 members of the department. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable A.B. Klute for Honorable F. Du Toit. Unmute, Honorable Klute. Can you unmute yourself?
There you go. Thank you. You spoke about the freezing of those bank accounts. In that process, Honourable Minister, were there any political interference from anyone to stop the attempt to freeze those accounts? And if so, can you provide us details, please?
Honourable Minister.
Honourable Member Klute, certainly I'm not aware of any interference. This is being driven by the SIU tribunal, which is a legitimate structure to deal with allegations of corruption. And so I've not heard of any interference by any politician. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the short and sweet response, Honourable Boshoff.
Honourable Chair, Honourable Boshoff is struggling with connectivity and has asked me to take the question.
Are you taking the question, Honourable Bratteseth?
Yes, I am, if that's okay, Chair.
No, you may continue. It's just that your sound is a bit muffled.
Deputy Chair, is that better?
It's much better. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chairperson. I do appreciate it. Honourable Minister, thank you very much for the detailed answer. There are just two issues I want to touch on. My research shows me that Treasury had to make a decision, and I was advised that they would make a decision by around about mid-March, which is where we are now, about whether or not Magwa construction would be used again or would be excluded as a contractor to government. I know that Magwa have an unusual history with government, with other projects that have been problematic, and I will be sending you a written question there. Can you, number one, just give us some updates on Treasury's decisions in that regard? And then, Minister, twice you have said to us that you are more than happy to give us the details of the 13 disciplinaries that are ongoing. We are here today in the NCOP. We are right here in front of you. Can you please give us those details of the 13 disciplinaries and perhaps give us a timeline as to when those disciplinaries will be completed? Thank you, Minister.
Before the Minister responds, can I request the chairperson of that committee to get that information so that we don't use too much of the time that is here, that the Minister respond to the question that you're already aware of. Continue, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. The process really to follow is that within the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, we have what we call a restriction committee. The restriction committee met in August last year. They then have to, and they have contacted the service providers to provide them with the reasons as to why they should not be restricted from doing business with government. That process has taken a bit of time because the service providers wanted to get a copy of the investigation report, which was handed to them. And then once the Department of Public Works received their input and reasons, then we then make a recommendation to National Treasury to do the restriction because only National Treasury can do that. I have to find out, Honourable Member, whether in fact the report is with National Treasury already and whether National Treasury has made a decision, because that is their mandate to decide whether to restrict or blacklist any company. And then I will come back to you, Honourable Member. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. We will now give to Honourable Sinye Nyanye Lihi. Is it right? Sinyanye? Sinyanye?
No, Sinyanye.
Sinyanye Lihi. Yes, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So you may.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, whilst it is all good and well that there are efforts to recover the money that were paid to the contractors of the Bait Bridge border fence, there also needs to be accountability and consequences for your department as well. Besides trying to recover the money, how else have your departments ensured accountable for what transpired? Who has been held accountable and how? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Hihi. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I have explained earlier on that there are processes that are taking place, that even the people who are currently facing consequence management, that they are entitled to a fair process.
Honorable members, please.
To representation, and therefore we are following due process, and also the unions are involved. So I want to assure honorable members that those processes are being driven by the HR department, and we cannot interfere there until such time that they've concluded the processes. So yes, we have done what we could so far in terms of the Public Finance Management Act, and the acting DG and the CFO of our department. All of us are involved, the administration are involved. So I will just hope, I know that the patience of people are running out and that these processes are taking a very long time. But as I was saying, Honorable Chairperson, on the request of the NCOP members, I will bring you the latest update and we can arrange for such a meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next question is question 20 by the Honorable Brotherson. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Brotherson. I'm almost getting there. Honorable Chairperson, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure and the South African Police Services are engaging in a consolidation of leases, particularly for the crime intelligence operations, to be incorporated into one site with SAPS police station within Pinetown. Then the anticipated outcome is to consolidate most of the SAPS operations in Pinetown into one facility. So we have requested SAPS to submit their needs assessment to enable us to do an analysis and to consolidate all the accommodation into one facility. SAPS is in the process of compiling their organizational requirements, like a needs assessment for this project. And then once they have submitted that to us, which they have not done at the time of answering the question, then we will then allocate some funding for the project. Up till now, we've not allocated funding, we've not committed any funding. But in addition to this work, Honorable Member, the department has recently concluded a site clearance for the construction of a forensic science laboratory in Pinetown, and a procurement instruction for this service has been issued to commence the planning phase for delivery of this forensic science laboratory. So in short, Honorable Chairperson, it's all work in progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. It is the first follow-up, Honorable Brotherson.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairperson, and thank you to the Minister. Yes, the name is Brotherson, but thank you very much. I know it's a tough name.
We're getting there.
No, I understand you. Minister, you know, this is the problem when, and I fully understand that you are taking advice from your officials, but it is literally the problem when you are receiving advice from your officials and it's very different to what's on the ground. And I'm reminded of the great MP from our parliament, Helen Suzman, who always said that one should get on the ground and see for yourself. The reality is, Minister, is that I was at that police station on the 24th of February, and I engaged with the officials that you're referring to. And they advised me that they're still waiting for an engineering report, a structural engineering report from the Department of Public Works. They also advised me that they raised with the Department of Public Works that the fact that all the cells at the police station are nowhere near the 5-star protocols, which are mandated by the SAPS. They also pointed out that the barracks, which was being raised with Public Works, are in a filthy, shocking state, and I've seen them myself, and they still await conversion into detective officers. The lifts in the building are completely dysfunctional, and as a result, the building is completely wheelchair unfriendly. The building the air conditioning in the building is completely non-functional, and I'm sure if you know Durban in the hot summer months, that makes it stifling and almost impossible to work in. And then the building in itself is completely dilapidated and filthy. The site you refer to relating to the SAPS lab, I know it well. The bush and the trees there are still as high as a 4 or 5-story building, and they are a home to criminal elements in the area. So, Minister, I understand that you are just taking advice from your officials, but I really want to invite you to join me on the ground in Pinetown and come and see what it actually looks like, so you can understand that your officials, unfortunately, are not being forthright with you. And let's try. The problem is, Minister, is that this Pinetown police station is a massive police station and services the biggest metropolitan area outside of Durban in KZN. So I really, Minister, would like to ask you that you come onto the ground, even with me, in a bipartisan fashion, and we have a look at this police station and really get it moving. Thank you, Minister.
Honorable Minister, that has been an invitation. Is there anything that you want to respond?
Yes, Chairperson, I was in Durban on Friday where I visited 2 courts in Chatsworth and the new family court that we will be launching soon on the 26th of March, I think. Now, yes, I appreciate when I hear that members do oversight. Because it's through information that we receive from you that we're able to make further interventions. I normally, when I reply to any supply chain management question, I will say that I was informed by the department. And you are right, Honorable Member, this is again, I was informed by the department. But certainly, we will look into your invitation. I think what we can do in the meantime, Honorable Member, is that I can raise it with the regional, if you can give me the information, I can raise it with the regional manager, Mr. Malakasi, and send him out there together with the department officials, and then come and give us a feedback report based on the concerns that you've raised today. So if you can send that report to me, I can arrange that in the meantime. I don't know when next I will be in KZN again, but certainly it need not wait for a visit. We can work on it even as soon as possible. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Ngwezi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, as far back as 3 years ago, the eThekwini municipality announced 35.9 million rand set aside for a metropolis infrastructure revamp. Some of the buildings that were to be revamped included the metropolis, the metropolis station headquarters situated at 16 Achigumede Place, the training academy at Lahi Park in Pinetown, and other, of course, areas. Now, I would like to know whether is the Honorable Minister, through provincial counterparts, aware of any progress as it relates to these mentioned projects. If she does, please provide details. Thank you.
If you have the information, Honorable Minister, if not, you can still provide it to us, like I've advised before. You may respond.
Yes. Honorable Chairperson, this is a eThekwini metropolitan issue, but I can certainly, again, we can see if we can get you some more information on this. And then I will pass it on to the chairperson that then get it to the honorable member. But I must admit that I've got no knowledge of that at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. You will follow up. Thanks for the commitment. Honorable Silindile Lutuli, it will be your follow up now.
Thank you, Chairperson. My question is, Chairperson.
Okay, is the disco now over? Then you may continue.
Chairperson, I'm trying to charge. I'm in the car now and there are cars passing. I'm sorry. But because of the load shedding and my battery is sitting at 1%. But my question to the minister is, when am I audible?
You are. But you just continue. We know you've got challenges.
Yes, Chairperson. I would like to know if the renovation will be underway. How will it affect the service delivery and the turnaround of for the resolution of cases?
Thank you, Honorable Lutuli. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Chairperson, I didn't get the first part of the question. Did you make a reference to renovations? I could just hear the last part. Would you mind?
Exactly what she have requested is to, in the case where the renovations will be undergone, will there be, what will be the arrangements to ensure that there is no break in the service delivery? I don't know whether there is already renovations, but she's actually anticipating that there might be a challenge with regards to the service delivery if there is any renovations.
Deputy Chair, can I ask you?
Sorry.
Deputy Chair?
Yes, Honorable Molitsane, you want to repeat
the question?
You may assist. Thank you. It will assist us also.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Minister, the question reads, has there been any feedback on how the closing down of the police station while renovations are underway has affected the community's ability to access services as well as the turnaround time for the resolution of cases? Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Honorable Minister, I don't know, is it specifically, but maybe your interministerial committee, you have discussed it. If you have the response, you may. Yeah. If not, we will await the response.
Honorable Chairperson, I don't have a response. I just want to ask, as this also relates to the Pinetown police station, and then I can get the response for the honorable member. But right now, I don't have a response for her. Thank you very much.
Honorable Molitsane, is it with regards to Pinetown police station? The question of Honorable Lutuli.
Ms. Lutuli, I wonder whether she's gone.
I see she's on the platform. I hope she will be able to respond. If not, we will continue. We will come back to this because we can also, outside of this forum, solve that specific issue. Let's continue because I think we understand the challenges, but let's continue. Honorable Moimang, you may ask your follow-up question.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Again, greetings to the Minister. The Minister, I want to believe that from the response that you gave, I think those that are watching us on a parliamentary channel are asking themselves, what is the link between Pinetown Police Station and the role that the minister is playing as the political head of the Department of Public Works. Can the minister just as the minister of the department that is the custodian of public asset in terms of the relevant law, just share the role that the department plays in terms of maintaining public assets? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Moemang. Yes, the mandate of the department is, first of all, in terms of two broad pieces of legislation. The one, it is GIAMA, the Government Immovable Assets Management Act of 2007, that deals with the disposal and maintenance of government-owned properties. The second relevant piece of legislation is the Infrastructure Development Act of 2014 that guides us how to build new infrastructure, but also to repair and maintain existing infrastructure. So you are correct, Honourable Member, that is the legal mandate of the department. When it comes to the specifics, like the question was put to me, I will also be honest with you, Honourable Member, that if I don't have the answer, I will certainly go and get the answer. And this is all that I was saying. It's not that I'm trying to say it's not our legal mandate. It is our legal mandate. And therefore, in terms of accountability, I must give feedback to the honourable members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. We will now go to question 21, as asked by the Honourable Broadbent, and we will once again give to you, Honourable Minister, to respond to that specific question.
Yes, thank you, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Member. The department's mandate is to provide office accommodation for national government departments. Such accommodation must meet the necessary occupational health and safety requirements to ensure the well-being of workers and the public accessing services from the premises. The department in this case had to invoke termination clause, the termination clause after the lessor failed to perform its contractual obligations in terms of the lease contract that was concluded on the 21st of May 2020 by both parties. So there's the new procurement process has already commenced, which is anticipated to be finalized in June of 2021. And as the department restarts the procurement process of the new office for the Department of Home Affairs, it shall and it must ensure that the building is well located to ensure easy access to the building in terms of transport and centrality to the place for our customers and clients. The responsibility to ensure safety of citizens outside of government buildings, that now resides with the Minister of Police. And I'm sure we can bring to the attention of the Police Commissioner some of the safety issues that's occurring outside of the government, outside of the police station. I thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable Broadbent, you have the opportunity for a follow-up question.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chairperson. I'm sure the Minister appreciates it. At least I'm doing my work today. I'm earning my salary. Minister, thank you very much for that feedback. Thank you very much for that feedback. I do appreciate it. It is just very unfortunate that I now have to go back to the people of Pinetown and tell them that after we had been informed that the premises had been located in May 2020, they must now wait another 6 months, during which time they have to go to a premises. And Minister, here I'm talking about elderly people who are queuing for documents that they need for SASSA grants. And while that's happening, they're being mugged. Now, I understand that doesn't fall under your department, but the relocation to a safer locale, certainly your department does play a role in that. The other issue, Chair, Minister, is that I have engaged on numerous occasions with your acting Director General on this issue, and I'm sorry to pull him into this, but I've not received any response from either him or the Director General of Home Affairs, and therefore I was forced to bring this to your attention. And what the people of Pinetown want is just a bit of hope, Minister. They want to know that at some point they will be able to go to a safe environment and conduct their Home Affairs business without being scared, literally scared of being mugged, beaten up, put in hospital while they're just trying to get an ID book, or whatever the case may be. That is not fair government to our residents, to our citizens. And so the question I have to you, Minister, is just a plea today. What will you do as Minister of this department to please expedite this process so that we can get solid information to the people of this area that will make them feel a bit of hope and a bit more confidence in using the services of Home Affairs in the area? Thank you, Minister.
You did well, and that is a request, but Minister can do a commitment.
Yes, I certainly will do a commitment, Chairperson, that before Friday this week, I will come back to the honourable member with all of the concerns that you've raised, all the issues that you've raised. I will ask the department to provide information with clear dates as to when what will be done when. But I will, before close of business on Friday, this coming Friday, what will be the date? The 19th of March, come back to the honourable member with some more information from the department with clear deadlines and dates. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister, for that commitment also. We are now calling on the Honourable A.B. Klute for Honourable F. Du Toit.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy Chairperson, thank you, Minister. What Honourable Brutus said is explained now.
Is it me, or is it the Honourable Klute's audio? Honourable Klute?
We can't hear him.
We'll come back to you. Let's now allow Honourable Moshodi.
Thanks very much, Deputy Chair, and thanks for the response for the Minister. My follow-up question is, can the Minister provide clarity on whether the department would be undertaking a similar project in other areas that are crime hotspots across the country? Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Moshodi. Honourable Minister.
Honourable Chairperson, in terms of the programs and the projects that the government, that the department is busy with, I can certainly provide the honourable member with a list of requests from the user departments. We respond to a request from a user department to build anything for them or to repair a building for them. And I can get a list from the department of those requests from the South African Police Services for new buildings or maintenance or repairs, and then forward it to the honourable member. I can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Klute, are you back? Not yet. Then we will give to Honourable Zandamela for now. Yes. Zandamela.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Minister, crime is not the only issue
Honourable
that affects.
Honourable Apleni, you can just have really the courtesy to indicate that you will be responding.
Oh,
let us just respect the processes here. You may respond, but you could have just indicated so that we could have known. Continue.
I'm sorry, Deputy Chair. I took it for granted because there was another chair before. So I really apologize. Okay, Minister, crime is not the only issue that affects the residents of Pine Town when trying to access the services of Home Affairs. Long queues and computers that were regularly offline were also some of the issues residents complained about. Besides a change in location, what other measures have been put in place to ensure that residents receive efficient services? Thank you very much.
Just to remind the honorable member that this is the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, and you are now speaking about services of Home Affairs, so that we don't say the minister didn't respond to the question. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, for your advice, and I agree with you. The question needs to be put to the Minister of Police. Thank you very much. Sorry, the Minister of Home Affairs.
Home Affairs, yes. Thank you. Honorable Plenary, may you please mute your mic? Can you please mute your mic?
Okay.
Mute. Honorable Klute is not back yet, as I observe. So we will continue, and then we will go to question 29, as asked by the Honorable Dangor. Honorable Minister, over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Member. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has applied what they call the deemed cost model in order to determine the value of immovable assets under its custodianship. And the total value of both land and buildings is just over 123 billion rand. I will quickly give a breakdown, Chairperson, of the land. There are two types of land. Vacant land, we have got 10,455 pieces of vacant land. The value of that vacant land is about 14.5 billion rand. Then we've got another type of land called improved land. And of that, we have got 18,586 pieces of land. And the value there is 25.7 billion rand. Then on the breakdown of the buildings, we have three types of specifications. We've got the specialized assets buildings, of which we've got 46,396 buildings, and to the value of 8.7 billion rand. Then all the office space, offices, we have got 9,437 buildings to the value of 9.9 billion rand. And then we have a number of residential properties, 22,805 residential properties that we have. And then the value of that is 23.9 billion rand. So this is how we have determined the value of the buildings in land using what they call the deemed cost model. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Dango, your follow-up question.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Minister, kindly outline the plans the department has to ensure the refurbishment of all these properties with a view to avoiding a situation where departments source alternative accommodation from private companies at astronomically high costs to the state. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Dangor. Honorable Minister, you may respond.
Thank you, Honorable Dango and Honorable Chairperson. You know, you raised a very, very important question, and as a problem that has been seized, you know, with the department for many, many years. And that is that we spend as a government, we spend 5 billion rand letting in properties for the use of government's accommodation. We only receive 60 million rand per annum from letting out our own government-owned buildings. And so there's a big variance and discrepancy that we are working on now. First of all, we started the process 2 years ago to renegotiate all the leases that we hold with the private sector. We have been successful in recovering some of the money. But our biggest problem is that our own internal record keeping. I found that there are over 500 companies in South Africa, private companies, that we are renting buildings from. But the Department of Public Works pay a month-to-month rental. And because we pay month-to-month, we are being charged more because there are no long-term leases. And that is why I've turned this weekend to put an advertisement out in the paper to make a plea for help from the private sector, those who are leasing to and from the Department of Public Works, to please come forward with information as to why we are renting on a month-to-month basis. This is not only costly for us, but it is also irregular expenditure. And I want to get to the bottom of it. Why can't we have more long-term leases that can save the government more money? There's also a lot of corruption as far as this is concerned. Sometimes when the private sector do want to renew or extend their leases, they ask to pay money. And I've even said to the private sector, I won't charge you any money, it will be free, but just give me the information so that we can stop the practice of month-to-month leases. Because if we get that income, we can then use that money, Honorable Dango, to refurbish and to repair and use some of these buildings. We now have a new mandate as the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, and that is to sweat the state assets, to see how we can generate some income from our own state assets. And very soon we will be putting out the first 200 buildings into the market for the purposes of refurbishing, where people can use it afterwards and lease it from government. So that plan, with the establishment of Infrastructure South Africa, under the acting leadership of Dr. Fotsenza Ramakgopa, we are working on a plan, and that is to see how can we get value out of our own assets. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Dango, do you have a follow-up question? Or if we could concluded the follow-up? Yes. Honorable Dango? Was it the second question? No, it was the first. It was the original question. Honorable Dango? I see you are on the platform, but I don't know what's happening. Let me continue. Honorable Ngwezi. Honorable Ngwezi.
I asked two questions. The first question and the follow-up question.
Okay, so thank you. I'm just a bit confused. Thank you, because it seems as if the weather is playing with us. Honorable Ngwezi.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ambassador. Honorable Ngwezi seem to be not on the platform. We will now then ask Kenny Mutsamai of the EFF. Honorable Mutsamai. Is there anyone else?
Thank you. Thank you, the Honorable Minister. Ke dikgato difeng le maikemisetso lefapheng ka go tlhokomelela le go laola maego le mafelo a tlhago gomme seo se fetsa madi a dipaakanyo lefapheng la madi.
I don't know. Was there any interpretation? I couldn't hear whether there was any interpretation. Minister?
Honorable Chairperson, I have been trying to use the link now here, but I couldn't hear any interpretation.
I also didn't hear any interpretation.
On a point of order, Deputy Chair.
Question for me.
Who is
On a
calling
point of
order?
order, Deputy Chair.
Who's calling order?
Honorable Matebula, Deputy Chair.
Yes, Honorable Matebula.
Loko hi sungula ntshamo wa namuntlha House Chair va hlamusete ku ri ku na issue ya ti interpreters va yi sort out, so I'm surprised now when you say that there's no interpretation for what honorable member have just said. So can you please and that advocate also confirm that the translation it's fine. So can you please get into that order, Chair, Deputy Chair? Thank you.
Honorable Matebula, as we are speaking, we've been trying to listen whether there is any interpretation, because I am aware that Honorable Tabai really loves his mother tongue, but there was no interpretation. So I'm also asking advocate to look into that issue, but in the meantime, is there anyone that can assist to enable the minister to respond to this question? Okay, so can you please just summarize that what Honorable Mutamai have been asking?
Deputy Chairperson, I also want to confirm that there is an interpretation.
But we couldn't hear it. Myself, advocate, I couldn't hear it, and the minister also couldn't follow it. Can we please be assisted? And can the summary of the question just be, can we be assisted with it? That is a request. Advocate?
If Honorable Mutamai can repeat the question. My apologies.
Honorable Mutamai, please assist us, my dear. Honorable Mutamai.
Thanks, the Honorable Minister.
Can you speak to the mic?
Right, I'm audible, Minister. Chair.
Yes, what is audible is the interpretation, so it's fine. You may continue.
Yeah. Ke re ke dikgato difeng le maikemisetso lefapheng ka go tlhokomela le go laola maago le mafelo a tlago tshedimosetso ka gore a fetoga maranta gomme seo se fetsa madi a dipaakanyo lefapheng la madi. Ke a leboga.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mutamai, for the fact that you were really willing and able to repeat your question. We appreciate that. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you to Honorable Matsumai, and thank you for the interpretation. I want to agree with Honorable Matsumai that, you know, the fixing of dilapidated buildings, of which there are many across our country, it comes about because of lack of maintenance, because of lack of repairs. But these buildings also become danger to society when wrong people invade the buildings and they live there with criminal activities. So yes, we do have a program for in our facility management. The first part of the program is to have a scheduled maintenance plan, because the lifespan of any building is between 30 and 50 years. So you need to have a plan how to maintain it. We currently do a lot of maintenance and repairs on a reactive basis. When a department phones us about a complaint, then we will go and fix it. So it is really costing us a lot of money. But we have now put out, since the past 2 years, the department has put out 2 term contracts. And on the term contracts, we have got companies ready that can do repairs almost immediately, instead of going out for a tender for every request for repairs that we are receiving. But I do share and I do agree with you that it is costing the state a lot of money. Thank you, Honorable Matsaman. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The last follow-up will be from Honorable Nana from the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. Minister, the asset register of Public Works remains a millstone around the neck of you and that of your department. This register makes your department the biggest landlord in the country. And the public perception is that, by and large, you are a derelict mastande, no better than a slumlord. Your answer today to Honorable Dango's follow-up question reveals that your department simply cannot manage this property portfolio effectively. I am wondering whether is it not time to allocate these premises to departments that inhabit them, and allocate those departments with relevant portion of your budget to maintain those properties. Thank you very much. Baie dankie, voorsitter.
Baie dankie aan agbare Nana. Agbare Minister, over to you. Honorable Minister, can you unmute yourself and then respond?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Member. First of all, to change the function of any ministry and to put that function to other departments, it is only the President of the country that has got the power to move functions from other departments. As you know, that the Department of Public Works was reconfigured in the 6th administration and infrastructure was added to it. And I will be the first to admit that it has been a battle for many years. Honorable Chairperson, I can tell you that recently I received a report from the external audit about how much money we've spent as this department on fixing our immovable asset register. Way back in 2015, 19.8 million rand was spent. In 2017, another 16.5 million was spent. And then again in 2018, another 42 million rand was spent. But we still don't have our immovable asset register 100% on a digital platform. In the past 2 years, there were attempts by the department to issue a tender to digitize the immovable asset register. Now, I was informed by the department that on both occasions, the tender was non-responsive up till early January this year. I did make an intervention, Honorable Chairperson. I've now turned to the National Treasury to assist the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure to write the specification for the tender in the right way. Because if the specifications are not right, you are not going to get what you really need. And so that is where we are now. National Treasury has already started drafting specifications. Help us so that when we go out for the tender again, that this time it will be done right. But I do admit, Chairperson, that we do have problems with the maintenance of our massive property portfolio. It is a value to the country as worth billions. And, you know, we have to change our policies to see how we can, one, protect our assets, but secondly, how do we use the assets of our country, which is really the family silver. It belongs to all of us. How do we use the family silver to make sure that we generate some income also for the people of South Africa? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I think you were really frank, honest, but you were still comprehensive with regards to the issues. And we appreciate your approach to the NCOP with regards to the question session. Let me then further continue to thank you for the fact that you have availed yourself. And I also want to thank our Honorable Chairperson, all the permanent and special delegates, as well as Secretary and the team for the session of today. That concludes the business of today, and the House is adjourned. Thank you very much. Go well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Sise. You look bright.
Thank you very much, Mami.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Bye, Deputy
Thank you,
Chair.
Honorable Mane. See you in the Free State. Honorable Moiman.
Bye, Deputy Chair.
Moiman.
Thanks so much.
See you.
See you guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I just want to check where do I... This thing is always up.
Bye, Deputy Chairperson.
Bye. Bye, Lillian. Lilieta.
I was carrying my little grandson.
Okay, and I didn't see him. Where is he now?
No,
Open the video.
I didn't want you to see him.
Wow. Oma, why not?
Next time.
Oh, yeah, please show me, man. I also have grandchildren.
No,
it's just that I usually ask them.
I'll send you.
I'm not at home now. Otherwise,
I'll send you his photo. Just now.
Send me, please.
Yeah, I'll do so.
I'm just in Cape Town. If I was at home, I would have also sent you my grandchildren's photos. Okay.
Okay,
Bye.
okay. Bye.